If you are listening to this, chances are, like us, at times you struggle with limiting beliefs, doubting yourself, little voice in your head telling you you shouldn't try that thing, you shouldn't do it, you're not good enough. If that is you, then this episode. This is the Secret Sauce Podcast with Chad Treese and Lacey Moores, where we want to help people build big businesses and live big lives. And we think that there's not a magic bullet for doing that, but there is a secret sauce. So a lot of these are going to be just the ingredients that can help you make up a secret sauce to build a big business and live a big life. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Secret Sauce Podcast. I am Chad Treese, here with Lacey Moores. Today we're talking about limiting beliefs, which is something I'm super excited about. I think it, for most people, can definitely relate to this one.
Everyone.
I think if you're human,
Yep.
You have a little voice inside of your head. We're actually not born that way, but pretty much anybody beyond infanthood does struggle with limiting beliefs. And so I just want to talk about it, get it out in the open. We talk a little bit about why we have limiting beliefs, the science behind it, which is really important then to understand how to get over it and how to crush those limiting beliefs when they come up. You want to jump into it?
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Let's do it. I want to start with a story,
Okay.
if you would amuse me for a second.
Sure.
But have you ever heard the story of the elephant and the rope? It's a parable, not a biblical parable, but a parable nonetheless.
Yeah, go.
The elephant and the rope. So there's a man walking through the jungle to an elephant camp, going to visit an elephant camp. And the adult elephants are there completely uncaged. Nothing keeping them there. No chains, no cages, nothing. Their freedom is in sight. They can take off whenever they want, except for a very small rope tied around one leg. You got the picture? Mm-hmm. Now, so he asks one of the, not guides, but one of the elephant trainers asks, like, what in the world keeps them here? There's no chains. There's no cages. What keeps them? And he's like, well, when they're really young, we tie that rope to their legs, and at a very young age, that's enough to keep them right where they are. And they try to break free from it. They can't. They're not strong enough yet.
At that time, it's tied up to something.
It's tied up. It's still tied up to something even, but they could break free. And like these are massive elephants, right? They could break free at any moment. But because it's tied on at a very young age, they never understand. They never come to understand that they're strong enough to break free from that. It's something that chains them basically for the rest of their life, and they don't even try.
Wow.
And to me, that's a perfect metaphor for limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Because it does start, and we'll jump right into the science of it, but it does start at a very young age. We're not born that way. We are born believing we can do anything, right? That's our default setting as humans, is that we could do whatever we set our mind to, and then it's trained out of us, which is sad, but it's the human experience, right? There's no avoiding that. So let's just talk about it. But where do limiting beliefs come from?
Okay.
And they typically come from childhood conditioning.
Yep.
Most of the time it's in childhood, just like the elephant. Right? It's somebody said something at one point in time. Why would you try to do that? Or why would, that dream's too big? Or you're not good enough to play for this team. You're not tall enough. You're not pretty enough. Whatever it is, you're not enough.
Yep.
Right? And then that haunts us for the rest of our life. That's that little voice in our head that as we try to do something says, remember, you're not that. You're not enough. So that's where limiting beliefs come from. A lot of times it's trauma or failure. So maybe somebody didn't tell you something, but you tried something, you failed, and then for the rest of your life, the rest of your experience is remembering that trauma of losing or failing, and you don't try it anymore. You're just like, that's okay. I couldn't do that. Now I can't do that. And you tell yourself, I can't do that anymore because I tried it and I couldn't do it. So,
all right, I'm having some major conviction here because on another podcast you asked me to sing, and I told you I wouldn't sing.
Are you going to sing for us today?
I'm not going to sing, but the reason I'm not going to sing is because when I was a young kid, I tried out for choir in elementary every year, and they posted that little sheet, and I never made it. And and I'm okay with it. I'm good at other things, but to myself, I'm not a singer. Like, people don't want to hear me sing. Like, it's not good. And you're just saying all those things, and I'm like, man, if I really wanted to be a singer, I could have gotten voice lessons. I could have done all these things, but it is definitely caused by that one instance. And I can even tell you the teacher's name, and my sister made it every year and I didn't. And like all these things wrapped around me not making choir.
That's so sad.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
I'm okay. But
You've grown into wonderful, without saying you're still really great. So, but no, I mean, it's a great example, and it's sad when you think about it. Like, it is sad that
everybody has a story like that.
Everybody has lots of stories like that, because it's typically not one thing. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
By the way, but these are what make up who we are as people. There's these ingrained patterns in our brain that we learn at a young age. Then we experience, and then we hold on to them forever. And so limiting beliefs are very normal, first and foremost. Like, understand that. Like, everybody's got them.
Yep.
But just accepting that and then not doing anything about it, it would be foolish too, I think.
Right.
So, like, yes, let's explore. Here's what they are. Here's why we have them.
This is good.
Now, how do we overcome it?
Exciting. Let's go.
Right. We've talked a little bit about the reticular activating system as well, the RAS system, right?
In your brain.
So another reason why we have limiting beliefs, right, is because our brain feeds on what we feed it. Like, it continues to make it bigger and bigger, right? So that's that same concept. And the reticular activating system says, because you couldn't do something at one point in time, or somebody told you couldn't do it, or you had this thought, like, maybe I can't do that. Your brain starts to focus on that and will remind you, you said maybe you couldn't do that at one point in time. So the reticular activating system is really great at times. It also can hinder us a little bit. So just having that knowledge and knowing, like, okay, that's what that voice is inside my head. It doesn't necessarily make it real, right? Most of the time it's not.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I always call it the little man voice.
Yeah. Yep. And there's
trying to keep you little.
There's value in listening to it. You can't push out every single thing. Like, you have intuition.
Yep.
There's intuition, and then there's a little man voice and deciphering which one is which. Like, I get it. Like, our brains are also hardwired to keep us away from things that could cause us danger.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Pain. Right. So that's another thing that our brain and our bodies tries to tell us to avoid, because, when we were cavemen, there's a lot of things that could kill us at any given time.
Right.
And so that's a natural instinct that we do create those patterns. And so there is some value in listening to some things, but there's a ton of value in knowing what to push out, what is a limiting belief, and what is positive intuition.
Yep.
Right. So let's talk about what do we actually do with this information?
Right.
Right. I think most importantly, you got to identify what your rope is. Like, if we take it back to the elephant and the rope, what's your rope? What is that thing that's holding you back? What is the limiting belief, and where does it come from? You do have to, it can be painful. Like, I don't know if it was super painful for you to talk about that story about choir, right? But there's gonna be some things that are even bigger than that.
Sure.
There's like, man, I did not do that thing. And that's kind of painful, but you got to live in it. You got to lean into it a little bit to understand where it came from. So you can do something about it. And so you don't repeat that, because like, we're parents, right? And knowing it and actually understanding it, we can change the cycle too. I think about it with kids all the time. Like, raising my kids is like, okay, is the message that I'm giving them, trying to parent them away from something that could hurt them, is that creating a limiting belief in them that will harm them later on in life? Man, that's kind of heavy, but it's real.
It is real. You're getting emotional. Can I?
No, you're good. Go for it.
Let me tell you a little story.
I don't mind.
When I graduated from my coaching program, that morning I got a text message from my dad, and it was a very heartfelt, how proud he is. My dad's always been my number one fan and encourager, and always has told me, like, you can do whatever you think, Lacey. You have the skills. Like, he's always been my biggest cheerleader. And so I posted something that morning, or that night, after I went through this graduation from this really hard program, and I put a picture of my dad, and I shared his message, and I said just the impact that he's had on me. And so many people ask, like, where does your confidence come from? Where does, like, all of this come from? And I was blessed to have just an amazing father who was so good about all these things. And then somebody posted on there, who I know very well, who's actually related to me, and she said, man, this is incredible. She goes, I just think about what my life would be like if I had your dad. And it rocked me.
Yeah.
It rocked me because it broke my heart too. Like I'm so blessed to have him, but so many people don't have him.
Right.
And it's such a powerful thing for our kids to hear not inflict all of these limiting beliefs on them when they're young. We have to protect them and keep them from harm, but we don't have to do all of that. And sometimes it's natural because it's what's ever been done to us.
Right.
So
yeah.
it's so good.
It's, I think it's definitely worth discussing. Like, it can be a little heavy at times, but still, like, you have time to disrupt that pattern, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah, I probably have. My kids are 8 and 10, about to turn 9 and 11. And I know there's times in my life where I've tried to protect them from something that probably created this little inkling of a thought that would later on, maybe in life, become a limiting belief. That's life. It's going to happen.
Sure.
Right? We just want to have less of that.
Right.
Than have that be something that is like haunting them later on in life. And we have a chance, like, if we explore it, we actually have a chance to undo it.
Yeah.
To do better, right? So I didn't bring it up to like bring down the mood. I actually brought it up because
it's amazing.
Like, it is worth exploring and doing
Yep.
better when we can.
Right.
And like, even in that experience, like, whoever said that to you, right? Just understanding that existed, like, she can start to break free from that. If she did have limiting beliefs, that also, your dad doing that for you probably did that realization of, oh, yes, would my life have maybe been different if I had somebody like that?
Yeah.
Yes. But now you saying it, maybe she raises kids, maybe she has grandkids, they have kids, whatever, like that. There's so many ripple effects of it that it's so good to bring it to the forefront. And it's not like, oh, I had this, you didn't type thing. Right.
Right.
So I think identifying the rope, identifying what the limiting belief is, super, super important.
What's your
when
rope?
it happens, whenever you're in like, okay, questioning, can I do this thing? Are you cut out for this? Are you good enough for that thing? You have to acknowledge it. Like, if you just say, yeah, you're right, I can't. But so you got to start looking for it. Like, okay, what is it and where is it coming from? Like, what experience where's that voice coming from and why is it doing it? Right. And then you have to challenge that narrative, challenge the story. Is the next step of that is you are in charge of your life. Not this little voice, not somebody who a long time ago told you that maybe you couldn't do this thing. So now that you've recognized it and you understand maybe why you have that limiting belief, now you got to challenge it. It's like, no, I can do this thing. I'm in charge of my future. Nobody's going to tell me I can't do this thing. Like, use it as a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So it's every time that comes up, okay, how can I flip that script fast? Because it's very easy to get in that mode of, you're right, I shouldn't try it. I'm going to go back to safety mode.
So it's so good because you said earlier, you can't make that voice go away. It will never go away. No matter how much you practice all this stuff, you're never going to make it go away. But what you can learn to do is not listen to it. So what you just said, be quickly to identify, that's a little voice. I'm not paying attention to you today.
Right.
I'm not going to listen to you today because it's always going to be there. But it's whether or not you decide if I want to listen to you, if I'm going to give you any space in my mind.
Yeah, you can turn it into I think you can turn it into a positive is like, it's when somebody tells me I can't do a thing now as an adult, right? When somebody else tells me, now if I tell myself I can't do a thing, that's bad. Somebody else tells me I can't do a thing, then I'm like, fuck you, yes I can. Now I cussed again. Explicit. We got to mark it explicit, Carson. But that's my mindset on that, right? If like when somebody else tells me you're not good enough for that, or I doubt you could do that, then I'm like, watch me,
chip
right?
on your shoulder.
The same thing if that little voice in your head, when you have to challenge it the same way. If you're that little voice inside your head says you're not good enough for that thing, say, F you, watch me.
I'll show you.
Right. So
that's good.
Stand up to the challenge,
Yeah, that's
right?
good.
Use it as inspiration, motivation. And then you got to take action, like quick action on it. Because if you sit there in thought, wondering, sooner or later you will convince yourself that that thought is true.
True.
Right? So immediately recognize it, say, screw that, and then go take an action towards it. It doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going to, in your example, like I'm going to become a great singer. Taking action doesn't mean like you're like right now, if you started singing, you're not gonna be great. But if you immediately say, okay, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to go hire a voice coach. I'm going to do these things, like take action on that thing immediately. Okay? Because that starts to rewire your brain a different way. When you start to take action against these thoughts that you have, you're rewiring your brain that you can do this thing, right? And then the voice does start to change a little bit. So the thoughts that you put into your head definitely start to rewire your brain for the positive, not the negative, right?
That's really good too, because I think some people think that you can't rewire.
You can absolutely rewire your brain. Yeah. I mean, it's the whole reason why you have these thoughts in the first place. You're born without it, right? And then you're creating this pattern that starts to lay down layers in your brain. But neuroscience tells us you can absolutely rewire your brain, but it does take effort. It does take acknowledging what's going on.
Sure.
So it's super exciting to me. It's like studying the way that the mind works and everything. I used to not care about this stuff at all, and now I probably dive into it too much. But the more that you learn about it, the more you understand. It's like, oh yeah, absolutely. You can lay down all new patterns. You could rewire the way that you talk to yourself.
So just basically, like back to my very plain thing I said in the beginning about not being able to sing well. I could go out and get voice lessons. I could go through learning how to sing, which would then maybe help me sing better. And then if I ever went down that path of trying to sing for whatever it is, I could completely rewire my brain for my brain to think that I'm actually a good singer.
Yeah, because
I don't think that right now, but I'm just saying you're saying I could.
Yeah, your brain doesn't live in a world where things are true or not true. Your brain lives in a world where it understands what you feed it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So you definitely have to feed it the right things.
Yep.
If you lean into the things that's feeding that is feeding that limiting belief, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You're going to get crippled by it, and you're going to have more limiting beliefs. Like you're literally just like feeding the gremlin after midnight, and it's just getting bigger. And there's more of them, right?
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, science says that action rewires the brain faster than thoughts. So taking action on it right away.
That's good.
So it reminds me of a story, and it's a little sad, but I don't want to bring it down. But I do think stories are important, and so I've talked about my son before, Cohen. He is 10. When he was 8, I think 8, he got cut from a baseball team. I'm gonna get emotional for a second. I'm sorry. Like, that's not the sad part. The sad part is what it did to him.
Yeah.
Because he's on a school team with his buddies, right?
Right.
And he had a coach tell him, "You're not good enough."
Yep.
And I was preparing for this episode, wanting to tell this example, and it occurred to me that, like, what a failure on that adult's part, right? To allow that, to care more about winning a couple games at 8, 9 years old when a school team, right, with their buddies. Chances are a lot of these guys may or not go pro. I'm not trying to tell them you're not. I'm not trying to plant that limiting belief, right?
Right.
But to plant that limiting belief in a kid at 8 or 9, that could later on affect everything, right? It tears down the confidence, right? And now he'll question himself on stuff. I see his lack of confidence, and it comes from other people telling them you can't do that, or you shouldn't try that, or you're not good enough. And it's a really good reminder for me, because I coach his basketball team too, and I now coach his new baseball team. And sometimes I'm too hard. Sometimes, like, I don't look at that as an opportunity to teach the lesson that, like, you can absolutely do this, and the responsibility that we have as adults to not implant limiting beliefs in kids, to not, like, plant that tiny little seed that could grow into something huge later on.
Right.
So sorry, I got
emotional. It's fine. It's good. It's real.
But that's, a good reminder, hopefully, out there to everybody listening, is like, you have an opportunity to flip the script. You have an opportunity, even if you are riddled with limiting belief in yourself, yes, let's work on fixing that, right?
Right.
But also, we have a responsibility to the younger.
Others. Yeah.
To not plant those seeds.
Right.
Right? So that was a big one. And I think about different limiting beliefs, like, in our industries, right? I think there's a lot of people that say, I can't I can't do like Robin. Like I can't be like Robin who does it all, our national EVP of sales, right? Like I can't be a great mom and I can't crush it in this business and I can't do it all. I can't have work-life, I don't know if it's work-life balance, but like I can't be great at everything. And I think that is a huge limiting belief that people just buy into. But the fact of the matter is you definitely can.
You can.
Right? If you want it bad enough, you definitely can. But we're told at an early age, like you have to have work-life balance or, you're not willing
a good
to.
mom if you're working, like all of the things that, Robin for me was huge because she told me I can. And in a world of all of those things, and I was trying to be very careful to make sure that I was a good mom and I was a good spouse and a good mortgage, and all those things. And finally, being around somebody who says, you can.
Right.
You can do it.
You can definitely do it. So I think the message there is surround yourself with people that are giving you, like feeding the right information.
Amen.
And right. No matter where you are in life,
Right.
A kid, if you're raising kids, wherever you are in life, surround yourself with people that are going to put the good in. They're going to tell you that you're capable of anything, that don't feed into those limiting beliefs. And if you've got somebody in your life that they're a constant reminder of the things that you shouldn't try or maybe can't do, it might be time to cut them out, right?
Yeah.
Or you either got to change them or you got to cut them out because it's not serving you at all. I think about with overcoming limiting beliefs, one thing I wanted to just probably leave the conversation with is one big thing for me is when I'm not taking the risks that I think I should be taking, or I'm not doing the thing, and I'm letting the limiting beliefs win, which happens a decent amount, I'm just being honest. I have to remind myself if this was an autobiography movie of my life, and it's played for my kids later on, what would they think of that? Would they look at that and like be really jazzed up? Would they be excited about looking at their dad? And is this story a powerful one that they could look at and say, look at my dad overcoming this thing, or look at him succumbing to this thing? Is it something that lifts them up, or is it something that like later on in life, I'm setting that pattern for them to be able to do it? Like show that generation, show the kids that are starting to get their own limiting beliefs that you can break through that. Is such a great lesson. And so I think that's the easiest way for me is to think about like my life as either a story, a book, or a movie. And is it something that I'll be proud of? Is it something that when they're watching it that I'm like super proud that they get to see that in me?
That's good.
More times than not.
Sure.
Right? You're not gonna be perfect every day.
Absolutely.
But just to live with that intention.
Right. Well, I think that's just a testament though to you, Chad, that you're always wanting to be better. You're always wanting to grow, and you're always wanting to look into areas that need it.
But I wasn't always that way, right? This has actually been a change for me in the last few years. So I think there's a lot of people that have a limiting belief, like that's not me, right?
Yeah.
It was me for a long time. I had this limiting belief that I don't believe in human development and growth. Like it's kind of hokey to me, and like I had that limiting belief, like I didn't want to lean into that. And so I think like that has not always been me, but it is super powerful when you do, and you lean into that. The sky is the limit. The ripple effects are huge. Be that person, be that example for your kids, for the people around you. That's where the magic starts.
And it's where the color is.
It's where the color is. Exactly. There's a whole lot of color there.
A lot of color.
That's where probably I would leave it. I don't know if I brought it to a great conclusion there,
That was amazing.
But limiting beliefs. Do not listen to them. Do not push through, break through. There's a whole lot more on the other side.
And don't push them on to other people either.
And don't be that person that pushes them to other people. Thank you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Huge. Awesome.
Guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to me cry for a little bit, but I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
And I sure hope that we'll see you in a few weeks.
Yeah. And if this was impactful to you, please share it. Please share this story because, man, we all have those stories, and sometimes it's just good to hear somebody else's and then really internalize on that. So we would love for people to share this if this was something that was impactful for you.
Yeah, or a challenge. Share in the comments somewhere what limiting belief, like now that you're exploring it, what is like your choir, like you kind of came to that revelation right then, right? Like if you had a revelation from this, like what was that moment? I'd love it to share it, or a moment where you can see your kids or whatever it is. Like
do it.
Let's share it. and let's break through it.
My other one was roller skating. I've never been good at roller skating, and now I'm gonna pick one. But I'm either gonna come out of this conversation, Chad, and I'm gonna learn to be a good singer or a good roller skater.
I can't wait to hear which one you choose.
That one might not be very safe in my age, but one of them, and I'm gonna get over all those limiting beliefs, and I'm gonna go for it and learn something new.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time, guys.